Hi, in this video we'll have a look at sentence correction questions that come in the verbal ability section of an aptitude test. So basically they give you one sentence that is wrong in terms of grammar. So and after that they give you about 4 or 5 choices, out of which one is grammatically correct. So in order to correct the sentences, you need to know certain concepts which are repetitive in terms of grammar. So let's have a look at a few of them, a few important ones as such. So the most important is subject-verb agreement. So as you know, the verb should agree with the subject in person as well as in number. That is, you have first person, second person, third person, singular as well as plural. So you should always make sure that the verb agrees in number and person. As is given in the example, the incorrect sentence is Frank, accompanied by his students, were at the studio. Now there is a rule in grammar that when you have a subclause, that is the subclause over here, accompanied by his students, whenever you have accompanied by or along with or as well as, you are to ignore the subclause and take the number of the main subject. Now the main subject in this particular sentence is Frank. So Frank being singular, you cannot use were as the verb, you need to use was, as is given in the correct sentence. Frank, accompanied by his students, was at the studio. Let's go to another concept. As you can see over here, the captain and coach of the team has been sacked. Now it says in the explanation that two singular nouns joined by and refer to the same person or thing. But now here you might think that the captain and coach are two different people, but actually that's only one person who is both the captain as well as the coach. So the verb has refers to one person who is the captain as well as the coach. Whereas if you see in the second example, it says the captain and the coach of the team. So here there are two different people, so you need to use have as the verb, since they are two different individuals. Let's move on to the next slide. It says modifiers. Modifiers are basically adjectives or adverbs, wherein adjectives modify nouns, adverbs modify verbs or adjectives. Let's have a look at an example. As you can see, the incorrect sentence says the new student speaks bad. Now bad is modifying speaks, and speaks is a verb over here. So obviously bad has to be an adverb form, whereas over here it is in the adjective form. So you need to change it to badly, which is the adverb form. Let's have a look at another concept, very important concept, called dangling modifiers. As you can see in the incorrect sentence, it says, I almost listened to the whole album. Now here, almost is modifying listened. It probably says that this person has a hearing issue as such. Okay, whereas that is not what you actually mean. Maybe the album probably contains about 20 songs, let's say. Out of that, probably you listen to about 16 or 17 songs. That's almost the whole album. So you need to change it to that. As in the correct sentence, it says, I listened to almost the whole album. So in the last sentence, you can see in the explanation, the modifier almost is wrongly placed in the incorrect sentence. That is why it is called a dangling modifier or a hanging modifier. Okay, so almost any modifier should refer to the proper verb as such. Let's go on to the next concept called parallelism. It's a very simple concept. As you can see in the correct sentence, he likes to swim, to sail, to dance. Right? So everywhere there is a to. Otherwise, in the second correct sentence, it says he likes to swim, sail, and dance. So you need to maintain some kind of standard all through, or you can say he likes swimming, sailing, and dancing. That case also parallelism is maintained. Whereas in the incorrect sentence, you can see it's written he likes to swim, sail, and to dance. in the second word, that is sail, the verb does not contain a to. So there is no parallelism maintained over here. So please make sure that parallelism is maintained throughout a sentence. One more concept is pronoun agreement. Now this is a pretty important concept. As you can see in the incorrect sentence over there, it says the minister met the manager and he recognized him. In this particular case, you do not know whether he refers to the minister or the manager. Similarly, him also is not clear whether it refers to the minister or the manager. So the pronoun should refer to the proper subject. As you can see in the correct sentence number 1, it says the minister met the manager who recognized him. So in this particular case, you can understand that the manager recognized the minister. Whereas in the second correct sentence, it says the minister met the manager and recognized him. In this particular case, you can understand that the minister recognized the manager. So the pronoun should refer to the proper subject as such. Next concept is when to use me and when to use I. So in the first incorrect sentence, it says John and me drank a bottle of wine. Now pronouns have three different types or degrees. They are nominative, possessive and accusative. If you take first person singular I, the nominative form is I, the possessive form is my, my, and the accusative form is me. So I normally comes in the beginning of the sentence, me comes in the end of the sentence. So according to our rule, we can see that John and me drank a bottle of wine is absolutely wrong, since me comes in between a sentence. So you need to change it to John and I drank a bottle of wine. Similarly, the second incorrect sentence says the dinner was eaten by John and I, whereas I is coming in the end of the sentence, you should change it to me. One more important concept is comparing things. When you compare two things, please make sure they are of the same type. As you can see, you can't compare apples to oranges. Maybe you can compare green apples to red apples, but not two fruits of different types. Let's have a look at an example. It says the view from this apartment is not nearly as spectacular as from that mountain lodge. So now the comparisons that you are doing over here is you are standing in an apartment and there is a view, and then another person is standing at a mountain lodge and there is a view from there. But in the incorrect sentence, they are comparing the view to a mountain lodge. How can you compare a view to a mountain lodge? That's absolutely wrong. You need to compare the view from the apartment to the view from the mountain lodge. So there are two different forms given over there in terms of correct sentences. It's the first correct sentence says the view from this apartment is not nearly as spectacular as the one from that mountain lodge. The one refers to the view from the mountain lodge. Similarly, the second sentence also says the same as the view from that mountain lodge. So these are a few questions that you encounter, some concepts in terms of sentence correction, some grammatical concepts that you need to know in order to crack the sentence correction part in an aptitude test. Thanks for listening.